If the stars were made to worship, so will I.
I'll be reading today from Musings of a Christian Physician on the Physical and Spiritual Healing of Man by Dr. Joseph DeMay. Today's reading is from week 32, day 1. It's Monday. We haven't taken time for an overview of where we are and how we got here for many weeks, so let's do that now. If you can remember all the way back to the start of these writings 7 months ago, you'll recall we had 3 goals. We're still on the first of these, namely showing what is available to believers regarding healing, focusing on the atonement of Jesus Christ on the cross. We still have the topics of the role of modern medical science in healing and the healing of non-believers to cover. But these writings are to span a full year, so we have time. No worries. We have already meticulously set the foundation for claiming that physical mental healing is part of the atonement, but we wondered why it took 4,000 years for human existence for that to take place. That brought us to examine God's plan of salvation. We've progressed from the fall of man in the garden to the children of Israel's miraculous delivery out of their Egyptian bondage. But we stalled over this amazing 50-day period of time between the Exodus and Mount Sinai, contrasting that with the equally amazing time between the crucifixion and the day of Pentecost. Most recently, we have become even more focused on the 9 or 10-day, depending on whether you count the day of Ascension as day 1 or the day after that, period of time during which there was no apparent presence of God on this earth, since Jesus had just left, and the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, had not been given to indwell and empower believers, as Jesus walked this earth for 40 days after the resurrection, and Pentecost occurred 50 days after the Passover, Good Friday. I have postulated that this period of time was when Jesus purified the celestial sanctuary by casting Satan out of heaven, and he was cast fully to this earth. He has been tormenting humankind, and especially the Jews and the church, to a greater degree than he was ever allowed to before. We looked briefly at the Jewish persecution, and now we're dealing with the wiles of the enemy against the church. Got it? We're questioning why the church hasn't been more victorious. Why almost all the disciples died a martyr's death, and why the early believers were subject to the cruel whims of the Roman emperors, like being killed by wild beasts as a public spectacle. The first reason I gave last time had to do with the scarcity of the presence of the Holy Spirit. Because of the scarcity of believers, compared with the widespread presence of evil manifest by Satan and all the fallen angels, demons, this would have a negative impact not only on Christians, but also on humankind in general. I think this is very obvious from history, at least the history I was taught in school. Before I enumerate the other thoughts I have regarding the trials of the early church, I want to say more about what the relative lack of restraint on Satan and his friends meant for the world during what is known the Middle Ages tomorrow.